What's up, traders? Welcome to today's Equity Empire Chart Analysis session. We've got a special session today because the stocks I cover in today's session are going to be picks, suggestions from the amazing PelicanTrader community on the X platform. So I polled the followers and have a number of suggestions here from some amazing followers. So what we're going to cover today are those suggestions. Now, before we get started today, I want to do a quick review on a trade setup I did when I first started posting my videos here on YouTube. Now, about 6 months ago, I posted this setup here. The header was time to buy Micron. And the chart looked like this. So we were in a downtrend. So what caught my eye in the first place? I want to do a quick review here and what catches my eye and how I picked the stocks to post here on these chart reviews. Now back in late April, I noticed that Micron had started to base after a downtrend, started chop sideways, and just at this moment here, we had broken into an uptrend. So you had a low, you had a high, you had a slightly higher low, and we had just broken above this peak here to establish a higher high. So that's a W formation, which is often indicative of a trend reversal. And we also had a series of higher highs and higher lows. So that's what caught my eye. So first thing was identifying the start of an uptrend, and after identifying the start of an uptrend, we'd be looking for support levels for entries. So I drew 3 support levels to consider for entries here, and then was waiting for a pullback into one of these support levels. So let me play this real quickly and show you what the game plan was in this video. Okay, so the game plan was to pull back to 74.10 for your entry, and the protective stop was going to be just below that level. The first target was going to be 86. Now you don't need to have a target of a resistance level for a target, so you don't have to exit at the first resistance level. I just like to draw them to be aware of where the potential sellers are based on clues in the chart. Okay. And in this trade setup here, I identified that as target. But if you'd use a trailing stop, I'll show you how that would have played out here. So this was the game plan, and this is what happened. Chopped for a day, for 2 days, and then we gapped down right into that support level. So 3 days after that video, Micron gapped down into the support level. You would have been filled at 70. Actually, it would have been filled at the open. It would have been filled about 74.50 is where you would have been filled, and immediately you would have been in profits. That's called a trader friend who used to trade on the Chicago Board of Trade calls that the NDM trade, never down money. So you get filled at the open, and it immediately bounces right off. And look at that. Just in the second day, you would have been up a little over 6 points, but let's take it out a little bit further. I'm going to change the time frame to show you how this trade played out over the next few months. And that trade played out like this over the next few months. So there's our entry right there at 73.5. Look at that move from the entry right there on April 30th, May, June 26th. It's already at 129, almost a double. But let's take it out even further. Look at this move here. Taking about $1.50 worth of risk, this stock is now up almost 200 points on $1.50 risk. That's an insane reward to risk if you would have used a trailing stop on this Micron setup. Okay, so and that's be sitting on a little over 300% return too. So I did not do this review here, definitely not to brag. It was a kind of I just wanted to show the potential of one of these setups, because if you catch one of these and catch the next Micron, you're up 300% on an entry, you can have a large number of small losses, little paper cut losses, and still be sitting fine. You could have your win rate be well below 50% and still be growing your account. So I just wanted to show the potential. First of all, how to find one of the setups, and then the potential. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be looking for, basically we're going to be looking for the next micron. It's going to be a little more challenging because that happened to occur near the bottom of the broad market, okay? So we're in a completely different broad market environment. It's going to be a lot harder to find the next micron at this point. But that's our goal. Our goal is every day. Every day is a new trade day. Every trade is a new trade, and you never know when you're going to get your next micron. I had no idea that this was going to be a 300% winner when I did that video. Okay, so let's get right into the action and start doing some chart analysis based on the suggestions of the PelicanTrader community. And the first one we're going to do is Black Sky, BKSY, and that's from Jojo Maverick. So Jojo wants to know about BKSY, and BKSY is very interesting because I'd looked at this several months ago and never got a fill. So I had a support level down here and never got a fill, and it ran away. So there was a bit of frustration in that was trying to buy in the 12 range and it ran up to 32. Well, it looks like we're going to get another chance here in satellite producer Black Sky, because there is a support level that we're very close to. So I'm going to draw that right here. That support level is in the 1167 and 998 range. So we're currently at 1319. So if you want to patiently wait for a pullback, we might get that this week or in the next couple weeks, or maybe we don't get it at all. So I normally advise to stay away from chasing above a support level. But I want to point this out. Is that really chasing if you were to buy somewhere around current price? That doesn't look like it's chasing. It looks like we're almost kind of catching a falling knife here. But this knife has been falling for quite some time. At some point, it's likely that the big institutional investors are going to step up and support this stock. Now, it may be the support level. There's another support level below there. There's actually two. There's one just below there, and then another just below there. So there's three support levels going all the way down to the 6 range, okay? So we got support all the way between 12 and 6. So it's a good chance that we bounce somewhere in between there. So it's up to you to decide if you want to trade this at all. This is not investment advice. This is simply a tutorial on technical analysis. But it's up to you to decide if you want to trade at all, and then where you want to put your entry and your stop. If you wanted to use this level, your entry would be 1167, protective stop right below that, somewhere in the 960 range, the red dash line. Okay, so you take a couple $1.50 worth of risk for potential upside is very dramatic. So our first real resistance level, I'm going to just draw it here. This doesn't, once again, you can use these resistance levels as a target, or you can just have them for your own recognition of where there might be some sellers showing up in the market, okay? So our first resistance level is in that 1863 price range, okay? So $1.50 worth of risk for 7 points of upside is a very favorable reward to risk if you wanted to use that as your target, or this could just be your entry for a longer term position. You just don't have a target and you trail the stop like would have been possible with Micron. Okay, so great suggestion, Jojo Maverick. Thank you so much. Next idea, TE from Speedy. Speedy's wondering about TE, and TE is interesting. If we would have caught this one, I hate to be a Monday morning quarterback, but there's a great looking support level that we bounced off of Friday. It may work again, but there's a great looking support level right here in the 292 to 273 range. So we're heading higher. We stalled for a couple candles and then continued heading higher. So that's a clue of a support level. Let me zoom in on that so you can see what that really looks like. So there's our support level. We bounced off of that support level. That would have been a real nice 2-to-1 trade on Friday. But it's still going to be a support level. So we didn't spend much time in that level. So whoever was trying to buy there didn't get much of a chance to actually get their buy orders filled. So we could, if we do get another pullback into that level, that could be tradable again. Our next support level, if you're looking for something a little bit cheaper in TE, would be somewhere, let's call it the 207 to 169 price range. Okay. And then resistance, our resistance level is going to be right up here. But resistance is pretty far away too. So that's technically, there's two support levels, and there's a little bit of support in between there, but not clearly defined. But there are two good-looking support levels, and our resistance is pretty far away, technically, okay? So that's a great-looking trade setup to give it a shot on one of those levels. So Speedy, great idea. Thank you for the suggestion. Let's move on. MISRL Comp is asking about NUAI, data center developer, emerging next-gen data center developer. Okay, so all the data centers had a rough time last week, and so this went along with it. But this thing had been an absolute terror, from 40 cents all the way up to 760. So having a pullback is totally understandable in UAI. Now looking for support levels, that's a great way for looking for either a quick trade. Maybe you get a lower entry price if you're looking for you think that this company can really develop data centers profitably over the next several years, which is quite possible. This is not fundamental analysis, so we're just going to look for clues in the charts. So our first support level, this is kind of a support level here. We kind of stalled a little bit there, and we did bounce off that level on Friday. So if you're looking for an entry somewhere between 366 and 293, there is some potential there. There's another support level that's a little more clearly defined right here at 253 to 217, if you get that chance. And then there's another one just below that. So we got three support levels to consider for entries here on NUAI. Our first resistance, if we bounce off that, it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of resistance till somewhere up near these highs. So I'll just draw that for our visual here. Resistance all the way up here. Okay, so 1 times 2 times, that's about 2.5 to 1 reward to risk on the first level. These lower levels have much higher reward to risk ratios. So if you want to be a little more patient, there's a couple different ways to trade NUAI. Great suggestion, MISRL Comp. Thank you so much. All right, let's move forward. NA is asking about SOUN, SOUN. SOUN had been a high flyer. This is one I've talked about a couple times, I think, on Twitter. It had been acting very well, but much like almost all the aggressive growth stocks that have yet to turn a profit have had some kind of pullback. This one's really dramatic. To get a pullback from 22 to 11 and change is a very dramatic pullback. Now, the good news is we're very close to a couple support levels. We're actually in one support level. So there's a support level right here. We're currently in 1264 to 1158. So we found it's the first green candle in quite some time in the support level, just by chance, right? Well, that's what happens in support levels. It'll at least temporarily. It's a clue that a support level is a clue that there's going to be some temporary buying support, and that's what happened on Friday. At least temporary. Sometimes it's enough support to send the stock significantly higher, and that's why I did that Micron once again to start today's session. But there's a couple other support levels to consider if you are a little gun shy and you're looking for a little bit cheaper entry. You got this support level down here is a sweet one. In the 1008 to 881. If you get a chance down there, there's a lot of support down in the 1008 to 881. May not get there though. May not get there. So it's up to you to decide if you want to trade this at all, and then how aggressive you want to be. A little more aggressive entry would be just, you can place a market order since you're in a support level, or you could have different ways to trade. I don't want to get into different ways to trade. We just want to do some technical analysis here. But technically, there's not a whole lot of major resistance until you get to this level here, 17 to 1781 range. So 1 times 2 times 3, about the 4 to 1 reward to risk on the first level could be worth a shot. Once again, this isn't financial advice. We're just using clues in the chart here, but looking to buy the dip. We don't buy the dip at any price. Typically, I like to buy the dips best when we're at the start, just at the start of an uptrend, rather than trying to catch a falling knife. But so if we can give a clue that we're starting an uptrend, I'd be a little more interested here. But those of you who are just looking to buy the dip at a support level, that's not really a word, but regardless of the trend, so we're definitely in a downtrend here. So we're in a downtrend that's been moving very rapidly. So buying a dip here, we got to recognize that downtrends can continue for quite some time. So it's a pretty aggressive entry. But that's aggressive traders. There's two opportunities here. So great suggestion, NA. Thank you so much. Let's move forward. Yeet's asking about the stock that I actually had on my watch list, TTI. TTI is hasn't had that big sell-off. So we've got a couple support levels to consider here on TTI. I love this chart. First of all, it's holding up very strong in a very challenging growth market. Second of all, there's a couple great looking support levels. So there's a support level right here. We almost kissed it on Friday and bounced off it. So that's a pretty good clue there when we drop and just miss an entry for a support level. It's almost like it's a hot stove. The buyers are so eager that the sellers kind of tease them a little bit and then run away from them, okay? So that's a good looking support level there in the 718 to 664 range. And then if we do get more market weakness and everything kind of sells off, we can be looking at support. Another support level down here in the 573 to 536. Love those two support levels. And then resistance, since we haven't been at this high in quite some time, our resistance is right here. Once again, you can use it for a target, or you can just have it on your chart, recognizing there might be sellers there. You don't have to take an exit at a resistance level. Just want to be aware that there could be sellers waiting to start selling again there, okay? So two support levels, one resistance level on TTI. Yeet, awesome idea, I believe. So thank you for the suggestion. Del Bell is asking about Mind, M-I-N-D. Mind Technology. Mind is a good looking chart outside of the last, the action on Wednesday and Thursday. We did find some support at this little support level. So there's a little tiny support level here. We bounced off. We found some support here, okay, on Friday, and that's the 1160 to 1128. There's a little more firm support. Since these are stacked together, I'm just going to combine the two. So I'm going to pull this lower level of that support level down to here. So you got a wide range of support there, and then you got support just below there, okay? So you got, this is really three support levels. I just combined the two to call it one here. So we did bounce off of that briefly, 1160 on Friday. Somewhere in here could be an entry. It could be, maybe you go 1160 if you're really aggressive, somewhere in the green shaded area here. And actually, let me draw a third one, because this third one is the one that's at the bottom of the swing, the controlling swing low. So we got this major swing low here. We get a pull back for another 3 points in that level. There's another one to consider. Depends on how aggressive you want to be, as I've said in the last few charts. Do you want to be more aggressive? You go for the upper level. If you want to be more conservative, you go for the lower level. And there's, I call them in between, when there's three levels, I'll call the in between one the Goldilocks level. Not too hot, not too cold. So that's somewhere in between the aggressive and the conservative levels, okay? So three levels to consider, and then we got our resistance level at that peak right up here, 1372, 1445, okay? Once again, could be a target if you're a rapid fire trader. If you're a rapid fire trader and you want to trade a lot, take the first resistance level you see, make that your target. If you are looking for more of a swing trade or a longer term trade like that Micron, because if you would have taken that quick target that I set on the Micron video, would have missed out on a big move. It would have been a very favorable reward to risk. So but you want to stick to your guns. Determine how long you want to hold the trade before you enter the trade, okay? So if you're a rapid fire trader, you want to get in and out during the day, intraday, or just hold for a couple days. Don't change your plan mid game, okay? Stick to your game plan, all right? And that's completely personal preference. All right, awesome suggestion, Del Bell. Good looking chart there. Rico B is asking about Snap. And Snap has a couple support levels, I believe, to trade. So Snap had a nice bounce off of a good earnings report. And we've got a support level. This isn't, I'm going to draw it because it might bounce. So we gapped up, pulled back, and found support there, and then continued higher. So we'll use that as support level number one, 822 to 791. Our next support level is I'm going to take this whole thing down here. And the reason I'm going to take that entire level is we were selling off, didn't get there. Sold off, gap down, that's where it found support. 732. So that's a great support level if you get another chance at 732 down to 7. Actually, let's get a little more precise on our stop just below 692 would be a trade setup if you're a little more patient, a little more aggressive. You got this support level 822, 791. Let's put where the protective stop would go if you were to take that one. Protective stop somewhere. You can place it a skosh below the range. Okay, so I'm just putting it some increment below the range, so it doesn't have to be precise on your protective stops, but you do want it slightly below. Just experiment with it. If you're getting stopped out a lot, maybe give yourself a little more buffer room. Sometimes you can use a mental stop, but I just like to draw it whether you use a hard stop or a mental stop, personal preference. But you don't, if you're trading quickly and you enter there and it continues to head lower, you don't want to be an ostrich and put your head in the sand and just hope and pray that it's going to come back. You have to have a good disciplined risk management process. And so protective stops below the support levels. Resistance is going to be the last reversal. So we got resistance right up here, 888 to 914. So that's about a 2-to-1 reward to risk on the first trade. Okay. Awesome idea, Rico B. Thank you for the idea. Let's move forward. We've got a couple more to cover. Enthusiasm Unknown's asking about UiPath. And this one's a active trader favorite now that they've gotten into the AI agent application business. I'm not going to get into the fundamentals. We'll just simply look for support and resistance levels. First of all, we are in a downtrend. So we are in a downtrend. We've got a series of lower highs, lower lows. We are in a downtrend, which makes it a bit challenging. And typically, like I said earlier, I like to see a clue. I'm willing to pay a little bit higher price for confirmation that an uptrend has started. Now, institutional buyers don't wait for the start of an uptrend. They see intrinsic value and they start buying, okay? And that's what provides support. So this first support level here is going to be a clue that there's big money investors in that price range patiently waiting to buy at that price. So there could be some big money investors patiently waiting to buy at 1334 to 1264, somewhere in that price range. And we got very close to that and bounced on Friday. So that's a pretty good clue that there were some number, maybe a large number of small investors, maybe one big investor, maybe several big investors. Okay, so but there's support there. There's support just below that. Below that, there are like 4 or 5 different support levels. There's so many support levels down here between 1264 and 1040. You can call that one big giant support level, and just pick your spot between 1334 and 1040 for an entry, and then protective stop below that. Okay, so you definitely want to have a stop below that swing low, or you can take a sliver of the supports. Support level there, support level there, support level there, support. There's a lot of support here. It's when you're trading, you see a whole lot of support levels, you can take the whole support level and just size down so you know exactly how much dollar risk you're going to take, or you can take one of the support levels and give it a shot. Okay, where there are no one rings a bell when a sell-off stops and starts to head higher. All we can do is look for clues and then give it our best shot with our best risk management process. And when I say risk management process, that's a clearly defined entry and a clearly defined stop. I'm going to point out the resistance level for a target. You don't necessarily have to use that as a target, but want to be aware that there were enough sellers to send the stock. Didn't want to change that. There were enough sellers to send. Got issues with my little drawing tool here. Enough sellers to send stock down from the 1572 price range. Let me change this one now. Okay, this is not a resistance level. That's a support level. There we go. Got our colors right. Support level 1334 to 1264. Resistance in the 1572 to 1657 price range. That's a very favorable reward to risk. If you wanted to go for the upper level, like I said, there's a whole whole lot of support all the way through here is additional support. There could be a big fund trying to buy there, could be several funds trying to buy a little more price sensitive. All mutual funds and hedge funds, they all have different processes for establishing where they want to enter their trades. And so support levels are clues in the chart that that's where the big funds are waiting to buy, okay? So I'm not going to draw them all here, but several support levels to consider. Enthusiasm unknown, great suggestion there. Love the idea. Okay, one sec is asking about Big Bear, BAI. Big Bear is very close to a support level. So we started our sell-off a little bit earlier on Big Bear. So we were in an uptrend. We had this little cup and handle that we broke out, and then that cup and handle breakout failed. So that will happen later in moves. So at the start of an uptrend, this cup and handle would have been more reliable. But and also this company needs to show a profit at some point too. But they got some very interesting technology. Not going to get into the fundamentals here. But if you are into their company's products, you'll like their growth prospects long term, and you're simply looking for entries and exits using technical analysis, there is a support level right here in the 565 to 531 price range. Another support level below that, 516 to 461. So two good looking support levels to consider on BBAI, and then our first resistance levels right up here, 742 to 780. So if you take just this support level, top support level, it's going to have a very favorable reward to risk ratio. Okay. Now, protective stop would be just below that. But there's another great looking support level. This one right here is a major swing low. So that could be another support level to consider. So two support levels, one resistance level to consider for BBAI. Thank you so much. One sec. Great idea. Good looking setup there. Okay, Daniel's asking about BitMiner, BMNR. BitMiner, definitely in a downtrend. Definitely down. I mean, we're very clearly defined lower highs and lower lows. Hasn't found any real support here. Even on Friday, not a whole lot of support. The interesting thing, so this is not investment advice, but there's one support level to go for here, technically. This is just technical. I'm not going to get into any fundamentals. There's not a whole lot of fundamentals to analyze on BitMiner, but technically, we're at the support level, okay? And then below that, I mean, below that is like 4. So one support level, this is an interesting one. One support level to consider, and we're just about at it, okay? So you can give yourself like 3 points worth of risk, put your protective stop just below that support level. Definitely have that support, if you're going to do this trade, definitely, I would not go out on this high wire without a safety net. So you definitely want that protective stop on if you're going to go for this trade here, because there's no technical support anywhere to be seen until 4. Okay, so it's a good looking support level though. Look how we blasted out of that support level last time this formed. So that could be a tradable support level, and then a little bit of resistance here, but it doesn't look like our next major resistance level isn't until right up here in the 50 area. Okay, so entry somewhere between 30 and 34. Target maybe 50. Once again, don't have to exit because you see a resistance level. Just going to be aware of it. Unless you're a rapid fire trader, you see your first resistance level, say thank you very much and move on. Okay, so one support level, one resistance level for BitMine Immersion Technologies. Thank you so much, Daniel. I tell you what, awesome PelicanTrader community. These were some great ideas. This is a great exercise because a lot of these stocks are down substantially. Not all of them are going to bounce. Not all of them are going to bounce now. Some won't bounce at all. But if you do catch one of these right, you could have or a couple of these right, you could have a major winner on your hands. It's definitely going to take some nimbleness. Okay, the market has changed dramatically. Let's pull that up real quickly. So you got the IWO is the small cap growth index. Let me change the color here. There's the small cap growth index. From April, we're basically straight up all the way through late October. Then we started to chop. I pointed this out to my subscribers at Equity Empire. We exited most of our small cap positions when this chop started. Okay, so if you're sitting on big losing positions, uh, there's there are clues here. So I was pretty aggressive on getting out of the small cap positions for our subscribers at Equity Empire. Okay, while this started, and now I'm simply waiting for this exercise is awesome because now I'm looking for support levels, basically looking for the start of an uptrend to get real aggressive back in small caps, because the small cap aggressive growth index has rolled over here. We've broken this upward trend line. We found support on Friday. That is, these support levels aren't that clearly defined here in the broad small cap index, a growth index. Okay, so some real technical damage has been done here. Now we could get a V bottom and bounce, could just depend on a Trump tweet or the Fed. If they start pumping the economy in the markets with free money, the proverbial helicopter money drop, we could get a V bottom bounce here, but most likely we got some work to do technically, some consolidation, maybe some more chop, maybe head lower before we get a clearly defined. This is not a clearly defined support level right here. So when the broad market is weak, most growth stocks are going to be weak. And that's because most growth stocks are part of an index, the Russell 2000 index. And when the big money investors start to sell the index sells every component of the index. And if your stock is a component of the Russell 2000 or the Russell 2000 Growth Index, and the sector sellers, the asset allocators, start selling that index, it's most likely your small cap stock's going to go down with it. And what we're doing now is our exercise today, that in all these setups that you all provided, is when they hit the sell button, they just sell everything in the index. They end up throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Okay, so they're going to sell a lot of junk, but they're also going to sell some high quality names. So it's our job now, and I'm doing this every single day, is looking for clues and looking for technical clues and fundamental clues that there's a high quality company that's been unnecessarily oversold, that's got a lot of growth potential both in the near, intermediate, and long term. Okay, so our exercise today was a great exercise. I want to thank you all, y'all. We'll be covering more technical analysis later this week on individual stocks. And then next weekend, I'll do another trade setup video based on your suggestions. So hopefully you all have come up with more ideas this week for next weekend's session. Once again, thank all y'all. This has been an amazing session, great ideas. I'll be back in a day or two with the next session. In the meantime, wish you all the best of luck in your trading and investing, and we'll see you soon.